Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about the topic design patterns and the types of design patterns. Let me tell you what is design pattern now. Design patterns. A pattern is a commonly occurring reusable piece in software system that provides a certain set of functionality. Secondly, the design patterns are solutions to generate problems that a software developer face during software development. It is based on the context in which it is used. So, using pattern is modeling of systems helps in keeping design understandable, standardized. It minimizes the reinventing of the wheel in the system design. Let us talk about the design patterns in detail. The design patterns are basically defined as the reusable solutions in the common problems arise during the software design development. They are generally templates or best practices that guides developers in certain well-structured, maintainable, and efficient code. Types of design patterns. Basically, there are several types of design patterns that are commonly used in software development. These patterns can be categorized into three main groups. The types of design patterns. Creational design pattern. Deal with the object creation which can be used while creating objects at runtime. Structural design pattern, which can be used to combine objects and classes in order to build structure object. Third type, behavioral design pattern, deal with the way in which classes or objects interact with and distribute responsibility. Let's talk about the creational design pattern. Creational design patterns are concurrent with the way in which objects are created. They reduce complexity by creating objects in controlled manner. The new operators captures objects all over the applications, as everyone knows. Over time, it can become challenging to change and implications because classes become tightly coupled. So it resolves the problem of tightly coupled classes. These design patterns addresses this issue by discoupling the client entirely from the actual initialization process. This gives the program more flexible in deciding which object need to be created for a given use case. Let's talk about the creational design types of creational design patterns. There are several types, mainly 5 types has to be classified in which we are going to see. Firstly, singleton pattern. It ensures that at most only one instance of a class of object exists throughout the application. Singleton pattern. The singleton method or a singleton design pattern is one of the simplest design pattern. It ensures a class only one instance and provides a global point to access it, in which it provides only a global access which can be used by every persons around it. Secondly, factory method creates objects of several related classes without specifying the context object to created families or related dependent objects. Factory method pattern is used to create objects without specifying the exact class of object that will be created. This pattern is useful when you need to decouple the creation of the object from its implications. Thirdly, abstract factory creates families of later dependent objects. Abstract factory pattern is almost similar to factory pattern and it is considered as another layer of abstraction over factory pattern. Abstract factory pattern works around a super factory which creates other factories. Fourthly, builder means you already know it's in which or how to say means to construct a building you need to foundation, then you need to build, in which it's a strategical process in which building up the process will become a building. Likewise, construct complex object using step-by-step approach in which orderly manner. Builder pattern aims to separate the construction of a complex object from its representation so that the same construction process can create different representations it is used to construct a complex object in a step-by-step, and the final step will return the object. Lastly, the prototype. As everyone knows, prototype is nothing but simply a plan about something which used to be a simpler form. Construct object by copying already existing object. This pattern can be useful if you are creating a lot of similar objects. Prototype allows us to hide the complexity of making new instances from the client. The concept of copy an existing object rather than creating a new instance from scratch, something that may include costly operations. The existing object acts as a prototype and contains the state of the object. As everyone knows, 5 types of creational patterns: singleton, prototype, factory, abstract factory, builder, prototype, and etc. Secondly, we go about the topic structural pattern. Structural patterns. Basically, structural patterns are concentrated with how classes and objects are composed to form larger structures. The pattern is particularly useful for making independent development classes, libraries work together. Structural design patterns show how to glue different pieces of system together in a flexible and extensible fashion. They help us guarantee that when one of the parts change, the entire structure does not need to be changed. Concept of inheritance is used to compose interfaces and define ways to compose objects to obtain new functionalities. Let's talk about the types of structural design patterns. Firstly, adapter pattern, bridge pattern, composite pattern, container, decorator pattern, bucket, flyweight pattern. Let's now talk about the adapter pattern. The adapter pattern converts the interface of classes into another interface client expects. Adapter lets classes work together that couldn't otherwise because if incomplete interfaces. Nextly, it's bridge pattern. Bridge pattern allows the abstraction and the implications to be developed independently, and the client code can access only the abstraction part without being concentrated about the implication part. Thirdly, the composite pattern. The composite pattern is a partitioning design pattern and describes a group of objects that is treated the way as a singleton instance, the same type of object. The client intent of a composite is to compose objects into these structures to represent the whole part of hierarchies. Fourthly, the decorator pattern. It, as everyone knows, the jewelry pattern or decorator pattern is a well-stand pattern in which well represented. It allows the dynamically add functionalities and behaviors to the object without affecting the behavior of other existing objects within the subclass. In which everyone knows, in a Word, you can document, you can add borders, you can change the font style, size, everything. You can decorate the PPT in such a way that it enhances the users to see and feel good. Then we use inheritance to extend the behavior of the class. This takes place at compiler time, and all the instances of the class gets the extended behavior. Fifthly, the facade pattern. Facade Facade method design pattern provides a unified interface to set the interface in subsystems. Facade defines the high level of interface that makes this subsystem easier to use, in which it also reduces the memory size of the pattern. Fourthly, everyone knows the proxy pattern. As everyone experienced the proxy in the colleges, in which partly a fake thing has to be done during the attendance time, as everyone has been doing for friends, of course, in the classes. Let's talk about the proxy pattern. Proxy means in place of, representing, or place, or on behalf of, literally meaning the proxy that directly explains proxy design pattern. Proxies are also called as surrogates, handles, and wrappers. They are closely related to structure but not purpose, to adapters and decorators. As proxy pattern, only what to say, it creates an image in which if you touch the image only, it will be open, or else it will be showing like a document. Lastly, the flyweight pattern. This pattern provides way to decrease object counts, thus improving applications require object structure. Flyweight pattern is used when we need to create a large number of similar objects. Flyweight. It also reduces the weight of the document, or else how to say means the memory of the document. Let's talk about the behavioral pattern, third type of subcategory. The behavioral patterns are those patterns that are concerned that the interaction between the objects. It establishes interactions between the objects in such a way that they are taking to each other and still are loosely coupled. A behavioral pattern explains how objects interact. It describes how different objects and classes and send messages to each other to make things happen, and how the steps of the task are divided among different types. Let's talk about the different types of behavioral pattern in detail. The types of behavioral patterns. There are 12 types of behavioral patterns: chain of responsibility, command, interpreter, iterator, mediator, memento, multiple dispatch, observer, state, strategy, template method, and visitor. Let's talk about the observer pattern. It defines a one-to-many dependency between objects, so that when one object, the subject, changes its state, all its dependencies, observers are notified and updated automatically. How to say means, if you make any changes from a group, like let's take about WhatsApp, if you enter or exit the group, everyone will be notified. If the admin states that, everyone shall view it. Let's talk about the second type, strategy pattern. That allows the behavior of an object to be selected at runtime. It is one of the gang of four, GOF. Design pattern, which are widely used in object-oriented programming. The strategy pattern is based on the idea of encapsulating a family of algorithms into separate classes that implement a common interface. So as a strategical manner, as everyone knows in the cricket, a strategy is used in which Dhoni is the master of the strategy, as he is the captain cool. He only improve what to say. He focuses on the process and the strategy, not the thing which he has or which he don't has. So strategically, if you move, you can increase the marks also. Let's talk about next pattern, the command pattern. The command pattern is a behavioral design pattern that turns a request into a standalone object, in which something is done in a way that it's completely apart from it, so it can stand alone and do its part on its alone. It's something nothing but solitude, as everyone can do everything in their own manner alone, containing all the information about the request. This object can be passed around, stored, and executed at larger time. Next type, chain of responsibility. As everyone is responsible for their works and being in the college and get a good CGPA and score high marks and going to the job and wife and everything is all on dream car, everything is a chain of responsibility, in which we need a responsible as a person in the college to study and improve our marks and improve our well-being and to make our parents proud. So it's our responsibility to do whatever we are going through in the college. The chain of responsibility is used to achieve loose coupled in software design, where a request from the client is passed to a chain of objects to process them. Later, the object in the chain will decide themselves who will process the request and whether the request is required to be sent to the next object in the chain or not. The state pattern. Next pattern is a state pattern. A state design pattern is used when an object changes its behavior based on the internal state. If we have a change the behavioral of an object based on that state, we have a state variable in the object. Use then if else condition block to perform different actions based on the state. As everyone knows, if else statement is a statement if the condition satisfies the statement, or else it goes to the next loop. Else statement or else if statements, and so on. Next, the pattern name is the template method pattern. The template method design pattern is to define the algorithm as a singleton skeleton of operations and leave the detail to be implemented by the child classes. The overall structure and sequence of the algorithm are preserved by the parent classes. The next pattern is visitor pattern. As everyone visits the home, the relatives, the friends, as everyone visits, we used to greet and we used to do the present. But this is not done in the visitor pattern, but it's completely different. Let's see about it. It is used when we have to perform an operation on the group of similar kind of objects with the help of visitor pattern. We can move the operation logic from the object to another class. One object from the class to another class we can move. It is a visitor pattern. Next pattern is interpreter pattern. Interpreter pattern is used to define a grammatical representation for a language and provides an interpreter to deal with this grammar. As an interpreter, as we know, the computer has compiler and interpreter. Interpreter sees all the lines of codes and provides the runtime machines. What is in depth, if you see, means all languages, C, C++, Java, every language has a grammar which is interpreted in a line by line and a grammarly basis, in which we can use interpreter pattern. Next, the mediator pattern. As a mediator, and as mediator, if you know, means it's nothing but the news media It enables decoupling of objects by introducing a layer in between so that the interaction between the objects happen via the layer. As Google Meet, everything, Press. Press is the very best example that it collects the news and provides to the user, or what to say, their outcome pattern or output layer of the pattern in which the people can see the news. It uses as a mediator in which it shows the news and the audience in which it shows the news perfectly, what is told, what is not told. Then the memento pattern. It is used to restore the state of an object to a previous state as your application is processing. You can make what you want to say checkpoints in your application and restore back to those checkpoints later. Intent of memento design pattern is to violating encapsulations, capturing a externalized object's internal state so that the object can be restored to the state later. Use case of the design patterns. As everyone knows, it enhances the maintainability, promoting code reusability, simplifying complex problems, improving scalability, improving testability, supporting cross-platform developments, encapsulations, collaborations, applications of design patterns. The collaborations, recurring problems, maintaining and extensibility, crossover, development, testing and debugging, designing review, and planning. As everyone knows, the design patterns has 23 types of pattern in which we saw from now. It's structural, behavioral, and creational patterns in which it has subtypes 5, 7, and obviously 13. So it's totally 23 design patterns. We have seen it. For more details, see the books, refer the books Pattern Oriented Software Architecture, a System of Pattern Volume, or Software Architecture Styles, the program in large design by Eddie Burke. As I know, thank you, and 100%. Let's see you next video. Bye.